Yay, it worked. Okay. Good morning. Welcome back. Welcome, Noah. Hello. Listen, it takes some time to get things set up. I will be here when I am here. Good morning. Welcome. All right. So today we're doing Luca Giordano's The Annunciation. So another Annunciation painting. And when I grabbed this one yesterday and decided that today was the day I was going to paint it, I definitely thought it was the Assumption of Mary, just because her gaze, hand on the heart. But there's an angel that she's looking up on that side. So it's kind of cool because yesterday was the Annunciation and a different perspective, and the entire painting is just so different. And this one is also the Annunciation. So I love looking at old Catholic art and just seeing all the different ways that the artists depicted the same scenes, but at the same time, they're all so similar. Like the elements are the same. Because the Annunciation is always going to have Mary and an angel. Usually Mary's reading, like scripture. The angel usually has a lily. What other symbols are there? A light coming through a window usually, or like the Holy Spirit himself as a dove. Just keeping me accountable there, Noah. I see. Trying to think if there's any other symbols. Without the whole painting, I'm forgetting all of a sudden. What colors am I missing? I need black. How are you guys? Is the day going well? It was raining a little bit this morning, but now the sun is shining once more. Nice spring day. I need burnt umber. My old burnt umber has just legitimately disappeared. 4 days ago I couldn't find it and I still can't find it. Black, burnt umber, ultramarine, that's the one I'm missing. Did I really use all my ultramarine yesterday? I guess so. Ultramarine, cad red, cad yellow, and alizarin are the colors that half the time I put a little bit out on Monday and then I don't get rid of them until Friday almost. Because they don't dry out fast at all. So if you have the whole puddle without any other color in them, they stay just as juicy as they come out of the tube, which is really nice because they're a little bit the more expensive colors. In some ways, like the umbers are inexpensive. It's just a type of clay, and they dry really fast. So the colors that you want to keep and you want to have, they fortunately do not dry out super fast, so you can get a lot of use out of them. What part am I going to do first today? Usually I'd start with the background and work my way towards the face, which is what I did for the last two paintings, and most of the ones from before, but today I was looking at it and I think I want to start from the face. Okay, this paint is very juicy. Hold on. Because there's this, all around her face, there's a nice brown, hold on, tape, get on there. Which means that if I work on the face and then don't get to the hair, and let's say like I move down to the hand and all of that, tomorrow or whenever I go back to it, I can easily find that brown, because that's pretty much just a burnt and raw umber mix, and I can easily merge the two, the lines together. So I'm thinking starting with the face. Also just to switch it up and to challenge. Because it is, in some ways, it's easier to paint from the background to the face, because you can see all of the colors and the different values and everything's in place before you get to the focal point of the piece, which is, her face itself. Like, we're not going to be focusing on her hand as much or the background. Like, those are just extra stuff. It's the face. So yeah, I'm trying to decide what colors I want to mix. I guess I'll do my usual mix of colors. I'm definitely going to need more white though. Okay, so let's grab that and then I'll pop the palette up and show you how I mix. A little bit easier because the palette cam is tiny, little bit baby tiny. So just mixing it all together because there's a little bit of oil that wasn't mixed in with the pigment. So creating a nice smooth little bit. That's why don't fall. That's why I mix it down here and then move it up to the spot. I was using this brush this morning and now it's wet with black paint and I'm gonna knock it onto the floor. We're just gonna have to not touch that. Okay. Pulling this up here. Is that gonna be in camera? Yes. Hold on, I need to get the other camera up actually. There we go. So this one, oh, hold on. My voice is getting really sore. Actually, hold on. That one had a little bit of other colors in it because that was on my palette knife. That'll be my peachy pink. Move this whole guy up here. Huh? All right. So grabbing some white, that'll make the yellow. And then the peachy pink and the pink, which are going to be flipped because, yeah, that's the one that has the yellow in it. So grabbing a little bit of yellow, tiny bit of cad red. Oh, that was way too much cad yellow. That's okay. It's a good peachy pink color, though. It's always exciting when I actually get the right ratio because of the three colors, or close to it, because the cad red is much stronger than the cad yellow. I'm gonna grab a little bit more white and then make a lighter version of it. Just a little bit lighter, it's not super light. And then grab some red and make a pink. This will be good for her cheeks. They are very pink in this painting. Pull some down, grab some more white, make a lighter version of it. Is that even, you can't really see that. It's okay, we're just making a little puddle of paint. That's as far over as I'm gonna get. This is black and umber, which, yeah, I'm just gonna mix together. I was taking a photo of the Annunciation painting from yesterday to put on the end of the time lapse, and I accidentally rubbed a bit of the black background out, so I quickly mixed a little bit, and then we'll just repainted it. You know, nobody needs to know unless you watch this. So that's an umber black mix, which is a good neutral dark, and then I'm gonna grab a little bit of it. I'm gonna grab a little bit of alizarin. Come on. Trying not to accidentally drop it on the floor. So that'll be a very warm black, and then I'm gonna grab some more black and make a more straight black mix. And then just remember that it goes as an arc, because as much as you can barely tell that those are different colors, I can barely tell. But knowing what's on the brush is good. That's not where I wanted to put that, but that's where it's going today because I don't want to wipe it. An ochre and red mix, which is a nice middle of the line skin tone. Not a middle of the line. It's a good chromatic skin tone color. So as I go towards shadows, this is the color I'll be using more. And the color I'll mix with the shadow colors instead of straight white. This will lighten it without adding white. So one of those is more red, one of them is more orange. And then the last one I want is not umber. I want black. It's fine. Black and cad, not cad, yellow ochre. It looks like her makeup. The paint or the painting? Like this paint that I'm putting here or the painting? You know about the colors? Well, you know, not everyone is here today as well. And also, I wouldn't start at 9 if I prepped beforehand. But I might start doing that. But it's a good reminder of how to set up the palette. And it goes pretty quick. Because mixing those colors, getting that in my mind, the more I practice doing these quick mixes, the easier I remember, okay, I have these colors. I want to add a little bit of this one, this one, this one to make the skin color that I'm seeing on the painting, if that makes sense. So it makes color mixing easier to over and over and over just like practice and remember, memorize the different colors that you're adding. Yeah. So where do I want to start? So her cheek is super red, which is a good, oh my goodness, wow, okay, I have a lot of paint on my hand. I'm just gonna wipe that on the apron because that's why the apron's here. Let's see. Oh, you haven't been here on the other days? Oh, usually I set up the palette in the beginning. Good. I'm glad you got to join right away and do it. Because yesterday, oh yeah, that's right. Yesterday when you were here, right at the start, I didn't do this big setup mix because I was just doing her dress and the mantle. So I didn't do all the skin tone colors. All right, let's just go. Okay. Stop thinking about it, start doing. All right, so I want to start, I think, establishing the edge of her face. So I'm going to grab some burnt umber and some black. And that might not be too dark. And I'm going to lightly lay in the hair. And this will just be an edge to establish the outer limit of the face. And I'm going to keep the edge of it going in all directions out. Really sketchy. So that there's no raised paint. Yeah, last time I started, on the last 2 lives that I did, I started from the background and worked my way to the face. But today I feel like switching it up. I needed to go a little bit lighter on that side because the sun, or the light from the angel and heaven is coming from the side going through her hair. Okay, I think I take it back. This mix is way too orange. I guess it doesn't matter. I can just add cad. I keep saying cad yellow when I mean yellow ochre. Oh, the colors. The colors. Sometimes I just straight up say the wrong color. So instead of starting from the whole background and coming in, because this painting, I wish I could look at some of the other ones. This painting overall, the background's really light, sort of the same lightness as her face. The yellow veil, the red is kind of, they're all more or less the same value. And then the big contrast comes right around the face. That if I just establish that contrast, I'll be able to pick the colors out for the face accurately enough. Whereas if it has a very dark black background, like the last one did, I would want to establish that background before I start going in and choosing colors for the face, if that makes sense. Her hair ends, I think this is the line that her hair ends on. It goes a little bit darker, so I'm going to grab some more of this umber black. Maybe with a little bit more of the alizarin, just because it's a warm color then. Yep, and then there, and coming down. Thanks for liking the video, Noah. You're here. Always liking the video always helps. It tells YouTube that you like the thing. and that maybe YouTube should share it with other people, and then more people can find me. So it always helps. Same with subscribes and comments, I do believe as well, which is why I appreciate it every time you do it. You hit that like button. That's fine. I'll get to the hair today, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, so there's some lighter blue and blue here of the skin tone, and then it goes more peachy here, and then much more pink peach on the cheek. The shadow's very light on this one, which is also why I'm starting with the face, because there isn't a big contrast between the shadows. The whole thing is kind of a nice pale color. How do I want to approach it though? I'm going to do the ochre and cad with this black and ochre color. The black and ochre is a good way to get black in the into a skin tone without just grabbing it from... Oops. I was not supposed to take my brush in there. And then just adding it straight from the pool, which it overwhelms. Black is a very powerful color. So just looking at that and then adding a little bit of this cad red mix as well. And adding it from a mix rather than the pool, again, for the same reason. I mean, you saw over here when I was mixing that pink how I put barely any cad red on my brush and it just overwhelmed the entire white. That's too brown. That's much too brown, but it works for kind of over here a little bit. But it is way too brown. Okay, so we're gonna add umber and black and ochre, which is a very cool neutral shadow. And I'm kind of mixing it in with the browns. Oh, yes, sharing as well helps. Thank you. Okay, that's much closer. It's a bit dark, so I'm not going to add a ton. I barely have any paint on my brush, which is why it's so scratchy. But that's good, because then I can add a lot of layers and work wet into wet without getting overwhelmed with the amount of paint that's there. Did you stream it, or did you share it after the stream? Is that what you're saying? If you did, I'm not sure I can see strip when people share it. It's not like... Actually, there probably is a stat that I can find somewhere that shows how many people shared the stream. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Okay, I do not have enough paint on my brush. A little bit of dark there. I'm adding burnt umber to the mix because I want to add it down here. This is a very warm, very, very warm shadow. And it continues all the way down here, down the entire neck. There's even some just almost straight cad red in there that really pops. Oh, yes, I popped downstairs and said hello. I do. So I'm adding cad red right on that edge into the color that I already put down. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the ochre into the cad red. Well, I mean, into this brown, burnt umber, cad red mix. I really should just make a puddle of cad red and burnt umber because I really like that color. And this is for the ear. Ears are usually very red. I am going to actually just make a puddle of that. burnt umber plus cad red. Makes a very chromatic but dark color. That is really nice to add in shadows on faces. I'm gonna swap brushes. No, I'm gonna do a little bit more. So there's one spot right here that I want to add. Yeah, oopsies. Okay, new brush. I think I want to add, oh wait, I forgot that this pile here is supposed to have cad yellow in it. I did not mix that when I was up there. Just a little bit. And then this makes a really lovely white, instead of using straight titanium white, which is more of a blue color. Having a white that's a yellow is really nice for faces. Also, even adding just that little bit of cad yellow makes this pool of white last much longer when I save it overnight. Usually white kind of gets tacky and gross to use, but the one that has the yellow in it, even just a little bit, it helps it stay good. Adding a little bit peachy white into that, basically just making it more yellow. And finding these highlights. What am I painting here? This line is the white of the eye. Also, this angle is so strange. I don't think I've ever painted a face from this angle. It should be good, but you know, it could always turn out terrible. I'm gonna add just a little bit of black. I could have added I am gonna add a little bit of this one actually. And use that for, no, it's a bit dark. I like to tap out a little spots. You'll see me doing that a lot. Just kind of getting the feel of what that color looks like on the canvas and next to other colors. I suppose it's a bit like paint by numbers, but the shapes for the paint by numbers is entirely in my head. That is definitely too light, but I'll leave it for now until I get the other colors in. I'm gonna grab a bit of the darker peachy pink and use that down here. I think I need to add even just a little bit of pink. Right. Oh, no, that was too much. Should have mixed that in first down here. This edge, I'm going to make sure has no raised brush strokes and it's just smooth on the side. And then it starts to turn around the neck and starts to get darker. So I'm going to add some of the browns, a little bit of the, not that one actually, I'm going to add a bit of the ochre black mix, a bit of the cad yellow white mix. Her neck also turns around that edge. And then I like that color almost for up here. No, it's a bit gray. I'm gonna give it a pause. I'm gonna swap brushes, get a new one. And try to figure out that shadow color a bit more accurately. I think it does have white in it. Thinking and plotting. Okay, so I'm gonna grab some of the umber. I do believe, okay, I think this mix is actually pretty good. And then I'll add white to it. Have the yellow white a little bit. And then that is definitely, well, maybe it's not too gray. What do I think? It's okay. There's definitely like 3 different colors going on here. Some of them have much more burnt umber in it, so I'm gonna add a little bit of burnt umber. A bit of the ochre. And more white, because that just got really dark. And adding the yellow white into this mix as I'm doing it is going to keep the chroma up. So the color is going to remain more pure than if I added white. White would totally lower the intensity of the color immediately. This is okay for here. Let's see, it's no, yes, over here. All right, I'm just going to add some of this everywhere. I think it needs a bit of cad yellow. Cad yellow is a very vibrant color that sometimes works really well with black, more so than the ochre and black mix would work. Kind of feeling it. Yeah. I think it also works, oh, that's definitely closer, because the background is very green. It's going to have that same sort of combo of cad yellow and black together to create that look of luminosity and light. So it makes sense that it would reflect in the face as well. But right at the ear, it goes, instead of this kind of neutral color, it's going to pop up really bright with a really warm color. So I'm going to make sure I avoid that so that I can go back and paint it. The cheek definitely turns and goes more warm, so I'm going to keep this neutral color sort of in the back. There's this line of lightness, that's the bounce light from her hand, the background, everything else, onto the face. So I'm going to avoid that area as well. This area that I'm just painting needs a bit more blue though, so I'm going to add a little bit of white, straight white, instead of yellow white. Blending those together. And then I want to go, I'll use that a little bit more and bring it down. I want to go around the indent in the neck at the clavicle. And around this side as well. This line is this shadow edge. I might have pulled it out a little bit too far though. Maybe it's more of the raw umber. Right around there. That's warmer, so I'm not going to use it there anymore. That's going to go darker. Yeah, I need more burnt umber. This is such an interesting switch between yesterday's painting, which had a lot of black and cool colors in the skin. This one does have a lot more warms, despite that it is also a very kind of a blue cast coloring. Yeah. It does look darker. I'll give it this. It looks darker because the rest of the painting isn't there. So once I add the light spots, it'll look less, I don't know, the light spots will actually be light enough, and so it'll look a little bit more even. I don't think it's massively too dark, especially not for this early stage. It's always easier to add white than to add black back in. And in some cases, I know in my mind, I'm keeping track, especially in this, like the highlight in the shadow, that I want to specifically add white in as a secondary step instead of the first step, because the white gets in everywhere. And so I want to keep it separate. But in some of these areas, I'm even going to go a little bit darker and more chromatic before I go back and do the lights. That edge has a really nice highlight right on the edge. And I'm going to avoid doing it because I don't have that on my brush. Then this is, what is in here? Cad red and burnt umber with a little bit of the raw umber and white and yellow. Wow, I just listed like half the colors that are on my palette. But it's definitely on the more red side. Once again, the eyes have more pink and red tones around them. That is a much more pink around the eyes and the cheeks than anywhere else on the face. Besides the ears. But it's like that whole strip of the face horizontally has a lot more red. Her nose is such an odd shape. I don't really look at people from this edge, from this face edge. So it'll be lighter when it dries, only because so oil paints are kind of weird. The oil itself makes it really shiny and appear darker. And then as it dries, it appears lighter because the oil isn't shining and reflecting off the light anymore. So as it dries, it'll go lighter. But when you varnish an oil painting at the end, so you want to let an oil painting cure for literally months, ideally, like 6 months before you varnish. You don't have to wait that long. There's some tricks and some ways that you can tell if you can varnish it earlier. But if you varnish it too early, it gets cloudy. It's really weird. But so it'll dry and it'll look really pale and light, and especially the blacks will pretty much look gray. But the minute you varnish it, the varnish is a clear coat that is very shiny, again, but it remains shiny. Unlike adding oil to the top, it won't sink in. The varnish sits on top and it's essentially a resin, and it brings out the true colors that you put on the canvas while you were painting. So those blacks will look extremely black when you varnish, and the lights will look really good, and all the shadow shapes will appear a lot darker. So it's just a trick of the eye, or not a trick of the eye. It literally does go lighter as it dries, but it's not supposed to. And you want to paint with the idea that it'll be varnished at the end. Unless you never want to varnish your paintings, which would be kind of weird, but you technically could do that. But the paintings do look kind of sad. When they dry naturally and the oil sinks in, they do look sad. There's a few paintings that I was like, oh, they look fine. And then I varnished them and I was like, oh yeah, varnish really helps. So that's one of the with these ones that I'm doing, unless I do it for 2 days, I don't really have to fight against it's called sinking in, the sinking in of the colors. As I'm painting. But if I was going to paint this painting over multiple weeks, I would want to go in and oil out the painting between sessions. So basically you just add a little bit of linseed oil and you just tap it onto the painting. Essentially resaturate it with oil and then paint into that. And that'll help get the colors be what they will be when it's varnished. But if you're just painting it all in one day, the paints don't dry that fast. Not to the point where they actually sink in. It takes like a day to sink in. Which is exactly what I was doing before I started going live, is I oiled out the painting from yesterday so that when I take a photo for the Instagrams, it looks pretty. And it does. It looks really good now. It is sitting. I don't know where it's sitting. It's over there. I'm not going to grab it. Because essentially it looks the way it did when I was painting it. You guys already saw that. Just trying to look for little spots of color with this darker brush that has a lot of the red in it. I'm going to go back to that is the highlight color, so I'm going to need a new brush. And I want to find, okay, I'm going to do the cheek color, and it's going to look really strange. But it's going to be a mix between the peachy pink and the pink, which essentially means I'm just getting less cad yellow in there. It's a bit too pink. So I want more of the peachy pink, and I think I just want to add a little bit more cad yellow because it's a little light. I want it to be more vibrant. It's a bit orange. I want it to be more pink. Hello, back and forth. But it definitely also goes extremely orange right there, or red right up there. So I'm going to add a little bit of cad red. And push it past where this rosy pink color is. Start bringing it closer that way. Okay, I think that's good for now. And then I want to add, okay, wait. Before I start adding burnt umber, thinking how much more of that rosy cheeks do I want to establish right now versus add that in later after I get some of the other colors around it established. And I think I want to do a little bit more now. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre to this mix, a little cad red yellow ochre mix, which will stop it from being quite so saturated and, you know, that bright pink. So I don't want to do too much of it because I do want this to look bright. And I want to be able to push and pull it around as I continue the painting. But there's a little bit on her chin right there too. And then I'm going to go back into the peachy color a bit more. And I'm going to just fill in this entire spot. It goes darker. It goes darker. Yep, it does. But I'm not going to do that yet. I'll do that with a little bit of adjustments as I do that transition around her cheek. Right now I'm just trying to establish a bit of local color. What is the biggest color that I'm seeing in the shape? And then I'll do all the small transitions to make it look actually like a face after. Yeah. It's not as dark yet anymore. I always say the biggest thing about painting is just keeping the end goal in mind. Because every time I go back into painting, I'm like, this looks wrong early on, and then if I just keep going on it and kind of just zone in and just work on one section at a time, at the end I'm like, oh, like it came together again. That's cool. But like from the start, if I can keep it in my head that I want it to look, or that it can, and it will, if I keep working on it, look fine at the end. These intermediate stages where it's like, oh, it's too dark, I need to fix it. Just trust the process and keep moving on. And that really helps. most of my journey of getting better at painting is just to keep working on it. And I think it's true for a lot of artists, that if you just sit down and keep working on it, and just, you know, spend like half an hour more on the painting than you might have before. And that extra push will take it to the next level, rather than stopping early. It's usually it's just extra time that's needed on a painting to take it from, I don't know, from like, you know, pretty good to like amazing. That's why art takes a really long time too, though. I've decided that this color on my brush is a pretty good in, you know, medium skin tone. So it's not the lightest part of her skin. Well, actually, it kind of is. It's a good in-between, where it's in a lot of spots. It works for a lot of areas, even if they're slightly different. But it will help get paint on the canvas so that I can blend other colors into it later. And I think it wants to be a little bit more down here. This needs to be a bit more colorful. I'm gonna grab the warm color brush that I was using. I'm gonna add some of the Wow, today I'm just calling ochre cadmium, just all day. Okay. What's on the brush I know is a brown. So I'm gonna add a little bit of the peachy color to it, and it's gonna go the direction that I want it to go. Instead of starting from a new mix, I'm just shifting the color that's on the brush using the brush's color. That I went too light. That's going to be interesting to fix. I want to make it a little bit lighter for right there. Use a little, no, that needs to go darker too. Shh, just pretend you can't hear it. I know you could, it's right below me. It's because I don't have a real mic. I'm just using the phone's microphone. And physically it's literally just echoing through the floor. So I'm gonna add a little bit of this in-between color right on the edge to start shifting that into a gradual transition rather than bright light, bright dark. Yeah. That's okay. It is what it is. Okay, I added light here where I do not want light. I'm gonna go back to this brush, which is this kind of medium color again. I guess I had two brushes of very similar color. If I add a little bit of white, I think that'll work for the bridge of the nose. Just mixing it up. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. That's too pastel. It needs to be more vibrant, but it is okay. Squinting at it, it's an okay value. So I want to add a little bit of the Cad Red and Burnt Umber mix. Maybe just a little bit of straight Burnt Umber. maybe a bit of ochre to make it a little bit more orange. Actually, yeah, no, that was fine. So whenever the music is between songs and I'm not talking, is when you really can hear it. Like right now, it's between songs. I'm gonna keep talking. Anyway, so there's this color is still not the right color. I want it to be more orange. On the palette, it looks very orange because the wood of the palette is orange. And then it's not when I get it up here because of the other colors that are around it. All right. Softening the shape and the values next to it. I want to add a little bit. I think this might be a good color for continuing around the eye. It is definitely too warm for the eyebrow. But it's good to have a little bit of addition there, I think. And then on the neck, this section is definitely too dark, but that is okay. I'm going to add a little bit of umber. And it needs more white, so I'm going to add the yellow white. That was too much. I'm going to add the black umber mix. No, just the umber and the burnt umber. Try to get to the eyebrow color. A little bit like that. And there's a little bit in here. And then if I do a little bit darker, it's also the interior of this eyelid, which Giordano made darker than this side. So that's fun. Smoothing this edge next to the cheek. Sure, that's my lunchtime, if I'm done. I might be going a little bit longer today, like I did on Tuesday. My schedule's the same Tuesday, Thursday. So I have a little bit extra time to paint. We'll see how far I get, and if I'm at a good stopping point. It's always like, I'll start at 9, and then I'll go to when I have a good stopping point, or it's around noon. Okay, I need a lighter version, so I'm gonna grab this lighter color brush. I'm gonna add a little bit of the black and umber. I'm gonna start filling in the rest of the skin. A bit lighter than that too. Mixing in the warm browns that I have on the brush with these cool colors. I pulled that too far down, so I'm going to push it back up. Woo, 30 subs. What am I doing? Oh, I did give that a separate line of the shadow on the neck. Goes lighter there. Okay, I'm about ready to pull out the clean brush and to just blend all of these colors together and then get started on finding the real details. But I want to add in that down shadow right between the, like, this cast shadow that's going on her neck. So I think that's an umber black start with just a little bit of white. There you go. An oddly green color. But it'll bounce off the red of the dress really well because they're complementary colors. Adding a bit more white. Or, well, that was the peachy pink color. But a light. No, that's not working. I'm going to go back to a different brush. The brush that has this color on it. And use it to pop a little bit of color in there. And I want to do, okay, hold on. I need the black, or the dark, very dark color. A little bit of burnt umber, and I'm going to just lay in a little bit of the eye. Do I want to? Well, I guess I'm already doing it. I'm going to do, okay, that looks really awful. I'm going to avoid it. No, I'm just going to do it when I do. It's a small enough shape that I don't need to add a couple different colors and then tap it in like I'm doing now. So I'll just leave it and go right to the detail on that one. For the rest of the face, there's enough open area that I want to get it all covered before I start doing the detail. So with a clean brush, it has no other paints on it. And I'm just lightly tapping it on the canvas to get paint everywhere. A nice even layer, thin even layer of paint to start blending some of the edges. Make it look a little less blotchy. Down here in the shadow part of the neck is the paint is super thin. Probably should put a little bit more paint down there. Do I want to pull a little bit? And then come back up here, around the nose, tapping away. This whole area does turn, so I'm going to tap into it with the brush has the darker shadow colors on it, right? So I'm just tapping it in and depositing a little bit. This is a good way to remove color all around and make it a little more unified. And then now focusing on the highlights, just wipe the brush off. So now it's clean again, and if I focus on the highlights, I'm not going to be dropping dark into them. But I don't need to clean it. And this has a bit of a more smooth transition. I just pulled most of the paint off there. That's actually kind of unfortunate. I don't want to remove all of the paint, I just want to smooth it out and blend them together. But it's okay. Blending that edge. All right. Where do I want to start? Usually I would start with the eyes, but that cheek is kind of bothering me. I don't have a brush for it. Okay, where's the new brush? I want the warm brown, so it's burnt umber, cad red, and ochre. That actually might not be too orange. I'm gonna lay it in here where the cheek continues. And then in here. And then keeping that brush so I can use it again, I'm gonna grab the peachy pink brush, wipe it off a little bit so I can get a bit more of a chromatic color. Grab a little bit of the burnt umber. This is not gonna be dark enough. Bit more of the burnt umber color then. Burnt umber cad red. Even that is not enough. I'm gonna add a little bit of cad yellow to it. Down here. All right, back to the shadow brush. I'm gonna merge towards some more burnt umber. Raw umber. So it goes less saturated. And then different brush. This one. Merge that one a little bit lighter. And then add a bit of more opaque layer right there. Needs a little bit of cad yellow. That might have been too much. Thought adding the cad yellow was going very purple, and I want to keep it a little bit on the green side. Add a bit of the ochre, black, add a little bit of white. Add a bit more white. Just not the best thing to do because now this brush is going to have a lot of white in it. But I do need white right here. And I need to blend it in. Pull it down. So I wasn't talking there for a bit. I am just getting the shadow shape into a more opaque layer because it was getting very thin. And then trying to establish the shapes a bit more. Add a little bit of ochre here, where the temple shifts. It's like there's a flat section of her face right there that catches the light differently. This is definitely I'm going too dark. I'm gonna grab the, whatever this brush is. It's that color. Cool. That is the color I want, but I want to have it be a little bit more pink. Maybe a little bit more yellow and light. And then I'm gonna lay it on top of this one and make that half tone a bit better. The half tone is the colors between the highlight and the shadow. That transition needs to be a lot smoother, so I'm going to grab the actual highlight of the face color. Establish that a little bit more over there. That edge does want to be a cast shadow, so I'm not going to paint into it too much. Then this highlight shape, I'm going to grab more of that paint and start transitioning from that highlight to the shadow as it turns around Mary's face. The eye socket is a convex shape on the top where the eyes are. It bulges out. And then it goes concave over here. So the shape direction changes. Adding a bit more here. And moving it down. Oh, there was a lot of black on that. Oopsies. Wipe it off. Tap it in. Keep going. I'm gonna get a little bit more chroma on the brush, so a bit of the Cad Red yellow to make it warmer, because it's no longer the top of the forehead. We're transitioning towards that really rosy cheek color. Needs to be more orange, so we got a little bit of Cad yellow. I think I want to take a pause on the cheek and get the eye done, and then move my way back down. I just blend this a little bit more. I'm gonna grab that dark brush. Whoa, that is, who knows what that is on there. I do need to get more paint though. Goes a bit, it goes, I'm gonna do that again later. I say it goes a bit darker, or less warm up here. It goes sort of a dark brown umber, but I'll play with that later, because I think if I add dark now, it's gonna be way too dark. That goes lighter. Go back. Woo! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Let it fall. Okay. That is not the brush. What brush was I using? Do, 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 do. I'm gonna go to this brush, which has the cooler highlights. It's a bit more yellow, a bit more green. That is very light. That is not really the color I wanted. I'm gonna deposit a little bit of it here. And up here. Make this shift across the forehead a little bit smoother, and also turn on the top and not just on the two sides. So it's starting to look a little weird. Is it eye time? There's shadows in there that I don't have yet. What I wanted to do was fix this other area, but this brush is not a good brush for it. It's too light. I need a little bit darker of a brush. Grabbing this cooler color, which is the color I put on there. Right. I remember using this brush. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of white to it. A little bit of the yellow white. Place a bit of it there. Gently blend, getting rid of that sharp transition again. Flat it back and forth. Okay. No, this needs a little bit of white in it. There we go. Okay, now that I was in the shadows, this is actually not a bad color for this under the eye. The white is a little bit sticky. That's okay. And then defining the eyebrow. And smoothing that transition out a little bit up here. It does have a note of this orangey color right on the edge. All right, I'm gonna grab the black brush. Oh, that was too far. Oopsies. Grab a little bit of that lighter color again. And work this way. Okay, I need to do the eyes now. So I'm gonna grab the dark brush. How do I wanna do this? Already did the pupil. Just play with it a little bit more. I'm gonna grab a new brush, one that's really small. And I'm gonna make that brown. That is our eye color. It's gonna have a little bit of cad red, ochre, and burnt umber. Maybe just a little bit of that black. Okay, that little dot of black that I put in is actually almost exactly where that highlight color, that shine under eye wants to be. Adding a little bit dark, readjusting the hand. Right around the edge of the iris. And a nice subtle transition next to the pupil. This also needs to transition into the crease of the eye, so it's not an abrupt shift, right? Like our eyes don't. There's an eyelid up there. But I'm gonna do this side first. Also, for some reason, this eye looks blue and this eye looks brown. We're just gonna... What? This is fine. It's mostly the highlight that's gonna be messing that up. Okay, so starting there. Then I wanna go back to... No, I don't wanna go back. I do like this color. I'm gonna make a darker version of it though for the eyelid. I may be grabbing a little bit of the black that has the alizarin in it. And now establishing that, oh, that's gonna be way too dark. Okay, adding a little bit of ochre to that. Ooh, that was perhaps a bit too much. Laying it in and then blending the edges so that the brush strokes aren't as abrupt. And that part of the nose is very concave. So something a bit like that. I need to shift the edge of that eye. Grabbing the white. This is also way too light. Wait, no. Instead of doing that, I'm going to grab a new brush. I'm going to mix a shadow color for the white of the eye, which is going to be a bit more white-green. Because the iris, or because it's a white, so the shadow is going to be more in the blue-green spectrum rather than a warm, like it is on our skin. And lay that in a little bit on both sides. And blending right next to it so that this edge isn't as harsh. Oh, what's going on with that brush? Is a really large stray strand. I'm gonna have to cut that off later. Okay, I want a, where's the eye color? I think it's this one. I'm gonna add a little bit of white to it. I'm ruining the shape of the pupil, but that is okay. I'll go back in and redefine it. This comes down right to the nose. My stomach just growled really loudly. There's this really subtle transition of darkness right there. I'm going to try to blend in with the white of the eye. I'm gonna grab a new brush. Oh wait, before I want to do that, I want to redefine the pupil. So just grabbing some black. Just looking at the two and trying to plan where I'm going. Most of the time I'm just staring at my painting instead of at both at the same time, which can do tunnel vision and painting incorrectly. Eyeshadow color. getting rid of the harsh edge. And then this black dye, you actually can't see very much of it. But this does also need under the lower eyelid and that edge there. And then the tear duct, which I kind of lost. Something like that. And down. Finding the edge of the nose just a little bit so that I can get a better idea of the contrast there. Same with the eyebrow. Blending the edge of the colored part of the eye, the iris. There you go. And then smoothing that transition out. There. And then also smoothing the transition with the eyebrow, because the eyebrow is being really abrupt up there. I'm going to go back to the skin color. So I have a little bit more paint to work with. Oh, this wants to be lighter right there. I need a different brush. That's gonna have no, it wasn't that one. A brush that is an in-between color, so that when I go to blend the edge, I'm not depositing some rando color down. I'm depositing a color that is actually more or less in between the two. Something like that. I'm gonna make this one a little bit lighter because the forehead color has totally gotten lost. Also, the forehead now has a lot of it's a really blue section up here that I'm not a big fan of. It does go gray there, but this is too much. What is that? Oh, a little bit clump of paint. Blending this transition, making it a little bit smoother. Right there as well. There we go. Now the eyebrow's a lot smoother. Smoothing that transition. And in a minute I will go in and add the highlight and then see how I like the eyes. I just want to play with the edging a little bit more. So things have a lot of contrast between the brush strokes. It's hard to tell if it's right and it just needs to be blended or if it's just actually wrong. And then in here, I want that to have, I should switch to a different brush that has something similar on that. I think this is a good one. It is warm, but it has this note of neutrality right there. And the highlight, I kind of lost the highlight there. And then down here. All right. Okay, and I'm gonna add the highlight. I'm grabbing a new brush, making something that's white, but not super duper white. So I'm gonna add a little bit of the yellow, and then just a tad of the black. And then just tapping it in. That's a bit low. I needed to have a little bit of black underneath it. And then on this side, grabbing the dark color of the eye and just going in. Getting a bit more paint. Up a little bit darker there, a little bit here. Okay. I'm gonna add more warmth to the cheek, kind of refilling it all in. And then blending this edge a little bit, adding that highlight a little bit right there. Getting some ochre, some burnt umber, and then getting this eye shape, the under eye, the lower eyelid, established a little bit more as it curves around the edge. I don't really like what the eye is doing. Oops, shifting that out. Shifting this shadow shape up a little bit. See how I feel about that. I should establish the nose. Well, I can use this brush. It's a darker version of the nose color. This isn't straight black. Luca Giordano definitely did not use black in the nostrils. He kept it very, very warm. And then the nose turns down and around. And then catches the light from the lower face. So it's not all darkness under there. And then there's a little bit of concavity there. I'm gonna add a little bit more up here since it was a little bit transparent. And then up here. And then it goes like that. And then I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter with the ochres. That wasn't really light enough. But it'll do for right here. I don't want to make this brush too light, so I'm going to swap to a different brush, a new brush. I'm going to do the lips first. So grabbing the Cad Red and Burnt Umber mix, which is kind of what's running on here. Okay, and then I'm going to make that much lighter with the yellow ochre. That wasn't very much lighter, but it is a chromatic shadow shape, so I'm just going to put a little bit of it down. And then I'm going to add a little bit of white. White's going to make the Cad Red go pink. Okay, laying that in. It's an okay start. It's very smooth there, and it has almost the same value right above, which right now on my side it does not have that much value change. Or the lack of value change, rather. I'm going to add a little bit more white and then a little bit of Cad yellow to keep it more orange rather than a pretty pink. There you go. And then I'm going to get the medium skin tone brush. Yeah, that's a much similar value, but a different color. So that'll transition really nicely there. But I'm going to pause and grab the nose color, because this shadow comes down just a little bit more before blending in. Back to the other brush, add a little bit more of the yellow and black mix. Back to the lip color. Oops. I want to add a little bit of black. Just a little bit to make it a little bit more purple. It's like adding blue. For right here. And right there. Okay, and then I'm going to get the light skin tone color for the Cupid's bow. Just the peachy pink color. Like that. And then the cute part of the Cupid's bow that goes right up to that, right underneath the nostril. Establish that shape. Bring the highlight to actually be a highlight. I accidentally put a little bit too dark of a color there. Adding a little bit more of the neutral skin color in between. Like that. And then this brush, which I think is the nostril color. Yeah, that is definitely the nose color. I need a slightly lighter version of it to establish that one edge of the left nostril, her right nostril, as it turns around and has a shape but is being hit by the light, so it needs to be lighter. That was not light enough. Adding a little bit of white for the peachy pink. Still not there. It is a quite light color. But I don't want to make it quite as light as the cheek behind, or else it will get lost. And then this edge, while accurate, is just a little bit too dark. I'm gonna fade in a little bit of the peachy pink color so it's a little bit more chromatic. Same on this side. The ball of the nose needs to be spherical. Okay, that was actually nice when it was that light, and I just went over it. I'll have to go back. This highlight is much less obvious. Okay, it's too light. Too light. Nostrils are very weird. I'm gonna get the rosy lip color. Place it a little bit in there because the light is shining through the nose, so it makes sense if it is a bit more red. Then I want that skin color on the side. Which I'm gonna use as the ochre in red. That's not the color I wanted. But it's okay. It's closer to this color. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more of that in. And added a little bit more over here. It's a little bit more pale over here than I gave it credit for. I need the light version of the skin tone. That's the color I was trying to get, and then failed. There's a little bit of light because the light is coming from that direction, hitting it, and then the nose is blocking it. And I want it to be here because this part of the Cupid's bow is really light. Wiping it off just a little bit. Okay, I do need to go in and blend it with a brush that's not quite so white. I'll add a little bit down here because it does need to be a little bit lighter down there. And then same up here. And then I'm gonna grab the neutral brush, I think, which is this one. And then use that to blend in all of the edges so that the highlight is there, but isn't like a shiny, shiny highlight. Oh, too dark. Blending a bit, getting a little bit distracted. Just blending in some of these brush strokes so they're not so different from each other. And then I can figure out what brush strokes I need to add. But now there's a bunch of red on there, so I wipe that off. Okay, that went too dark, but I'm gonna add a different, the warmer color in, and then blend that out. I'm gonna go back to the highlight color, but make it more peachy pink. Maybe just a little bit, like add just a little bit of pink too. Hold it in there. Add a little bit of highlight in here. was gonna add highlight there, but it's a different color that it needs. It's a bit too much of a highlight. I'm gonna grab the brush that I was using to blend the colors together at the beginning, or the middle, I guess, and just lightly blend it. Getting a little lost in all the different colors that I put down, all the different brush strokes that I'm meaning to blend. Just blend them all at once, one fell swoop. That cheek is way too light. That white is too white. It needs to be more pink. The cheek looks super warm because it's right next to this white. That is just way too white. I'm going to compensate also by doing that just kind of like everywhere. Even adding it up on the nose. Oh, the nose does make a little bit of a divot right here in the transition between the bridge of the nose and the ball of the nose. And this could use a little, just a tad bit more warmth. This transition as well could use a bit more warmth. And this, for some reason, now has a little bit of a dark line, so just get rid of that. All right, and I want to add a little bit of highlight onto the lips. So right here, they're catching the light right in the middle, and then they're catching light on the lower lip, right at the crease. Right there. Okay, and then I want to blend. Where is that? I guess it was that color. Okay, I'm gonna wipe it off a little bit so there's less paint on the brush. And then just pat this transition so that it's more subtle. And then I want to get this color, this just the red and ochre. And I'm going to lay that right on this edge as it turns into the darkness. And then add it just a little bit right here at the high point of the rosiness of the cheek. Just blend that a little bit. Oops, went out a little bit far. Push that back in. And then a little bit right there, where the chin kind of comes together. Okay, woo, didn't want to do that. But I'm doing that also because I want to go back into the shadow shape between the face and the side and make that transition. Ooh, that was way too dark. Okay, I'll do it up here first. Yeah, I'll just keep using this brush. Burnt umber, raw umber, a little bit of ochre. Refined this edge so that I can blend it smoothly. And I do like this color just a tiny bit right here. Right on the nose where it's hitting the shadow the darkest. Just finding some of these shadow shapes, again, redefining them so that they stand out just a little bit more. Her eyes were starting to look like they were just a little too soft. Losing the structure. The nose also, I'm seeing that I need to move that shadow shape over. Oh, I got paint on my phone. Hello. Gently tapping in a little bit more warmth in here. It's going to mess with it for a second, and then I'll blend it out and round that transition over. And make it so the nose isn't quite so wide on the highlights. And then just doing a subtle transition right here. There's a fly or something flying right in my face. Is it gone? Okay. Oh boy. I'm gonna go get the warm color. Grab a little bit of a highlight in here so that I'm blending between the two. Oh, I just went over where I wanted to highlight. Oops. I'm gonna swap brushes. And then there's two highlights right on her nose that I'm gonna just drop in right now. Right there. And right there. Oh, this look a little bit low. Oh, and a little bit misshapen. No problem though. Just grab a little bit of the color that I want. Go right on top of that, push it over, or just a little bit. Like that. And then I'm gonna grab a little bit of a warm to bring out this warmth. A little bit there, a little bit here. And then there's definite more warmth up here that Giordano added. But it's also darker. I'm going to add a little bit of umber to that. Kind of pulled up a little bit of the paint, so it came out a lot lighter than I meant. Just this tiny little glow of really warm skin tone between the shadow and the highlight. This warmth doesn't appear in the shadow or the highlight, but just right on the edge. Okay. Yeah, I haven't gotten to the neck yet. I'm about to. I was actually about to be like, all right, and that's enough for this part of the face. Let's go on. I wanted just a little bit more. So now her, like, the main part of the face is almost fully developed. I just realized I didn't finish that sentence. It's just, it's not full, it's almost fully developed. And I'm just, there's something wrong with the cheeks still though. It's way too dark. Yeah. Okay, I need a transition color that is a little bit more on the orange side, but is lighter, has more white in it. So that I can get rid of these harsh transitions of the shadow and have a more smooth blend transition. That's not quite in the right spot. That is also, the highlight of the chin comes up a little bit higher. That's a good brush to use. I'll do the highlight first. This brush is very white. I'm going to sort of intermediate color again for the transition of the chin, and it's going to want to be really warm, I think. But also light, that's a little too dark. Pull down the light a little bit farther. And then just a little bit, this needs to be lighter as well. Just a tad. And then this transition needs to be more subtle. Oh, going the wrong way, going the wrong way. That's much darker. Blending this edge and the other edge. So it's a nice soft gradient down the side of her face. Pulling up a little bit of the paint. And it's not right, but I'm gonna do an edge. There's a light edge right here before it transitions to that really red color. Dark red shadow. I need a new brush for that though. Add that transition in, darken the ear. Try to notice the different subtle transitions of the shadow, because there are a lot of them on the face. It is quite crazy how many different little transitions there are in our faces that, you know, when you look at somebody, you're like, they look normal. But if you're ever missing a few of them, suddenly it doesn't look like a person anymore. It looks odd. I'm gonna get that ear color in just for a hot second. Oh, somewhere here probably. It wants to be light, but it doesn't want to be too light and compete with the rest of the face. But it also is not doing that. Back to that other brush. A little bit dark. Grab some, I think it's black with umber. And then I need black to reestablish the edge of the face there, because I'm totally getting into the hair rather than the ear. Oh, that is quite dark. That might be a bit too dark of a color. It's okay. Going on the corner. Blend the edges so you can't see the different brush strokes. I'm gonna make this a bit darker because this side of the hair does go almost down to black. Okay, back to the dark red shadow. A bit more burnt umber. I think it does need to go a little bit darker. Right on the edge, and this is going to be the transition between the dark of the hair and the skin tone. And use it to blend out the brush strokes. Going down. Does have a really interesting shadow going on right there. Coming down, it comes out a lot farther here. Smooths over. Blend it in. It is not smooth enough up here. The hairline goes more into the hair up here. So I'm going to add just a little bit of the brown again. Swap to the highlight of the forehead. And blend this in a little bit so when I get to the hair, it's not going to be too difficult of a transition to establish. Just checking some things. Finding where the shapes look wrong. I see quite a few. Alright. Before I get down to the neck, I'm going to go in here. A little bit of a lighter color. Make this transition a little less abrupt. And then this transition doesn't need to be so obvious. This brush might have a little bit too much of dark paint on it. Pulled out of hair. Oh no, where'd it go? Okay. And then it needs a little bit more of the warm transition up here. Added a little bit too much lightness. White, and it needs to be more chromatic again. Okay, and then this got too dark. Ooh, okay. I'm actually going to use a filbert for this. And just tap it in. Pulling up a little bit too much of the paint with that. So I'm going to stop and then reapply it. And just gently tap it in. Okay. Tap in here. Oh, there's this tiny little red dot here that does not need to be there. And then I want this brush, the cheek color brush. Oh, that's gonna be a little bit too vibrant. That's okay. Blend it in. How do I feel about this? This transition on the cheek is too abrupt. Oh, and I have darkness on that brush. Okay, I need the lighter brush. I don't really have a good lighter brush anymore. My brush management today is not on. Okay. And down here as well. And then I need to smooth the transition here. The lips. I haven't done another pass on the lips. I'm gonna grab a new brush because let's be honest, I don't have any good brushes anymore. They are all skin tuned, none of them are the lips. So I think he used vermilion rather than cadmium red. Cadmium red is much more, I think, a vibrant red that doesn't, I can't really get this color simply because it's literally the wrong red. I can get close. And then I want to go darker. So I'm going to grab this one, which is the dark lip color. Get a little bit, it's a lot of paint on there. A bit too dark. Go back to the other brush, blend it. Okay, this transition underneath is a little too far over. I need a medium color there. Move the little dimple under the lip. Let's go a little bit more down, I think. And just a tiny, oh, I just knocked the camera. Oh, I just forgot where I was. Okay. I love when I forget between the palette and the painting why I grabbed a color. Delicately blending that. Okay. Okay, so now the neck transition. I think that's the next one I'm going to go towards. So, the neck transition. I know it has a really harsh line right in the middle. And we're going to blend those together. I'll make the neck actually turn. There's a highlight bit right here. I want the medium tone skin, which is not that brush, it's this brush. And I'm going to make it a lighter color. A little bit too much black in it. I'd use the peachy pink instead. And then on that side, going back to that brush I was using over there, which is this one, I'm going to find an in-between color, sort of between the warm and the really dark. I'm going to add a little bit of the ochre and black mix. Wow, brain just died. Brain just died. Okay, and then I want a little bit more of the umber and both the embers, to bring it away from that, the black, the gray of a black. Black is kind of a, it turns gray, right? And blue. And I want it to be more warm. So using the umbers instead. Finding a little bit more over on the edge. This transition, I don't know what's going on right here. It kind of feels like, I have no idea, but it kind of feels like the shadow and the highlight were painted at two separate times in the original painting. And that over time, that transition has become more, like there's an extra hard line on the inside of that. That kind of feels like it was, I don't know, it used to be less blended, and then oil paints become more transparent over time. And so the layering there, as it faded, just kind of, I don't know, made it look like there's two separate shapes. Which is entirely possible. If he was doing more of an alla prima style, like this, but doing it like in multiple layers. So establishing all of the dark area and then blending the two together. That it could fit, because the shadow shape like comes out farther than it does in the final image, because you're going to blend in between the two. But it is a good technique to use to find shadow shapes, is to paint the whole shadow, which kind of, I mean, that's essentially what I've been doing. You paint the whole shadow, and then you find what the transition really wants to be. But you establish the whole shape first. I need to go and get a little bit of a lighter color. I guess I'll just use the same brush. Adding a little bit of white into it. Blending the edges to keep them all very smooth. This divot is way too large now. Oh, my back's kind of hurting. Oh la la. Most of this underpainting that I threw down here has dried a bit. So I have to reapply all the paint, which is good, because then I'll make it a bit more opaque. Okay, that was dark. I was just pulling whatever color was on the brush. Trying to decide how far I want to get today and where I'm going to be okay with stopping. Because the thing with the rest of the clothing and the veil and all of the rest, it's really loose. And doesn't necessarily have to be super accurate, so I probably could do the rest of the painting tomorrow. But I have about an hour left, so how far can I get? I need to be at a good stopping point. Okay, let's just continue on the neck. Oh, yes, hi Noah. Distractions are good. It's fun to paint with people. I do genuinely enjoy answering questions. If I wanted to paint totally without distraction, I would just not stream. So don't ever feel bad about distracting me while I paint. I can always paint more between the days and all of that. And I do. And the paintings that I really need to focus on, I don't stream for that very reason. But these ones are just practice. It does keep me entertained. And it keeps me remembering why I am painting different parts. So if I'm explaining it out loud, it helps me remember as well as maybe give you a little help. Yeah. Oops. Got a little bit of white in the shadow there. Alright. What am I thinking? I need to go a little bit lighter down here. The little focuser guy on here is in my way. Yeah, go over there. No, don't go over there. Go over here. There's a little, like, focusing box on my phone. Right where I want to be looking. Okay. I've made it to neutral. It needs more warmth and light. Yeah. Alright. So I'm gonna grab more of the peachy pink, a little bit of the pink, Maybe just a bit of straight cad yellow. I'm just going to plot that down and then shift this entire area over just a little bit. But back on the distractions a little bit, if you do have any questions, please do ask. Because me just like saying what I'm doing as I'm doing it, I don't know if that's super helpful or anything. I'm just kind of talking out loud. But if there's like, I don't know, a different technique question that you want me to answer, go ahead and throw it in the chat. Or if you're watching the replay or the video after it's live, you can always throw it in the comments and I'll read the comments and either answer you there or answer on the next live. So don't be shy. I don't like that transition right there. And I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. Bring this down just a little bit. But then try to keep it really smooth in the transitioning. Bring it up a little bit more. I think I'm adding a little bit too white and I've lost the chroma. So every time I put white up on there, I'm mixing it with the black and the umber that's up there instead of adding in any extra vibrancy. So I'm going to add a little bit of a very vibrant, a couple of brush strokes. But then up here it is kind of more neutral. I'm going to add maybe more of a cad red and ochre mix, since that is more saturated but not as vibrant. Except when I mix too much of it in. Okay, I think I need to pull the filbert back out and just blend all these together and then see where I need to go from there. Getting a lot of brush strokes, not a lot of definition, and smoothing it all out will help figure out where I need to go in the next spot. All right. I know. Which is why I'm going to do this. And then possibly add some of it back in. The neck is rather white. Yeah, I think it's more accurate though now, or will be also with the rest of the clothing and everything when I add it in. It is still one of the lightest shapes in the whole painting. But so now that I have all the white down there, I'm gonna work back in the other direction. Kind of work back and forth. Starting in the darks, doing the lights, working them together, doing more dark, doing more light. Just kind of a back and forth until everything's at that medium tone that is the most accurate. Oh, I think I have to sneeze. Yeah. Oh, you know what's not good? Yeah. This is too harsh. I'm just gonna add a little bit of that side background color and then soften that edge. And then the neck does turn and there's a little bit of a darkness right. It comes down a little bit lower. This edge, this dark shadow shape is way too defined. But there's this, ooh, not that color. There's this like secondary strip of darkness next to it right here. So I'm going to blend the two together, add this in, push it over. But then it fades to that black on the edge. So I'm going to grab this, which is the black brush. That is this background. I'm just going to kind of tap it in and blend it so that the neck really looks like it's turning around and the cylinder that it is, and fading into the hair. That I think is that is definitely over-defined. But I'm going to leave it for a minute while I work down here. It's got some really interesting shapes going on in here. They're kind of weird. But it is kind of, I guess, the clavicle. We have a bone going right here in our neck and on that side. But that side's in the light, so you don't see the definition of it as much. But it does create these really interesting, like, looping shadows. Filling in this a little bit. I always like this kind of stuff. I usually don't start with the face for all the reasons that I said in the sort of the beginning, but I do really like how it looks when there's just this like developed skin tone colors coming out of a blank canvas otherwise. I think it looks really cool. It's kind of like a visual glitch. Okay, I think that shadow, though, needs to be a lot more green. So I'm going to add, it was, and then I added the different shadow colors, the more umbery ones. So I'm going to go back in with some ochre and cad and black. Ochre black, which is a green. Creates a nice, cool shadow that's going to be really sympathetic to the red of the dress. Her neck also has a little, like, chub cylinder. It's very soft crease. And then I think I need a little bit of very vibrant, not that, very vibrant yellow though, right here, as the veil, the sheerness of the yellow veil casts the shadow on her neck. It gets really yellow. It's also almost over here as well. This is like yellow line, but I have too much white on my brush. I don't know if I'm gonna be done in time with the timing, but I'll try. If not today, then I can do it tomorrow too. That's what I want to just interrupt. Okay, these transitions are not smooth enough. So I'm gonna go to the skin color brush. Tap them back down. It's also too straight of a line. It does definitely like swerve and curve, and I did not do that right. So we're gonna fix it. We're gonna fix it. It's gonna be great. That's one thing I have noticed about myself is that I tend to draw shadow. I make things too linear when they're supposed to be kind of flowy, organic. It means architecture is a little bit easier for me to paint, but it does not help with anatomy. But you just gotta practice. Also, I kind of lost the definition of this red up here. So I'm gonna lay a bit of it in. Ooh, I hope I didn't ruin it. Gotta tap it in. Oh, what am I doing up here? I just realized that there's a really weird shape going on there. I guess it's okay now. Ear. Ear is not doing what ear needs to be doing. Oops. Okay, that's too defined. Gotta soften that transition, but there's getting to be a little bit too much paint on the canvas. We'll do that, and then this line needs to go away. Oh, also, when did I get this little dark dot here? Get out of here. Get out of here. All right. That triangle is not so triangular. Get out of here. And then this has a smoother transition overall. It's not such a blob. It's more like perhaps that. Okay, I a little bit too much paint there. All right, reel it in, reel it in. Does almost want to come out more here. Ooh, no, 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 no. And then this does want to come up a bit more. Soften this edge. Definitely soften this edge. I don't know why I made that so dark. There's much more of a subtle transition. I love this song. Okay, also, that shadow, I have totally I lost this indent entirely. Yeah, something more like that. But then conversely, this bottom portion does come up a little bit further. Ooh, I lost that brush. That brush does not in any way, shape, or form exist. We'll take this one though, and we'll transform it into that shadow color. Which, is something like that. Yeah. It's almost, it could be like an undershirt that's sheer. Okay. This shape does not want to be like that. It wants to be different. Do, do, do. Boom, dun, dun. Ooh, that was a little bit too late. Okay. I feel like that highlight that I just put in here is too far over that way. It needs to go more that way. But I'm also a little nervous to move it. How does that look? Meh. Let's try this brush. I need that darker color. Blending into it with the white is making it move instead of blending it together. But blending it with the dark actually blends it. We're just gonna keep spamming the same message. Nothing's gonna happen. Okay. A little bit of the hair needs to merge in. Because this is not quite so sharp of a, not so smooth. Our hair kind of comes in different little chunks. What is going on with this little guy? What am I doing wrong? I'm gonna use, actually, where did that brush go? Man, I keep losing the brushes that I use. So you know brush management has gone in the trash is when I have no idea what brush is what brush. What time is it? 11:30. Back to like, where's Waldoing it? Okay. About half an hour. Do I want to do... I would love to get the hand done, but I don't think I can do that fast. Then again, all the colors are mixed. We'll try it. You may have some regrets, but I'll at least give it a go. It'll make tomorrow much easier if I have all of the skin done and just can focus on the rest of it. Though, wow, he does add a lot of colors in here. Okay. Why am I glopping it down so much? Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, trying to just move the paint around and collect it back up so it's not going to be in my way. Okay. Grabbing some of the yellow, ochre, and red, mixing it with some white for these notes of orange. And probably wants to be a little bit more than that, but oh well. Fingers are really weird. Hands are strange. I've noticed that with a lot of the artists that I've been doing the master copies of, their take on hands are kind of more, if you squint and it looks like a hand, it's good enough. They're not nearly as detailed as, for instance, their faces that they do. Which I think is a good lesson. Oh yeah, I saw you commented. Thanks for commenting. I'm going to get a little bit more of a lighter color in here. That's not quite as white as the color that I started with. And I'm going to swap to a darker color. Okay, I want this one. Warm shadows between the fingers. Which it looks like he almost did just like outline everything. I'll outline it so that I can transition into it better tomorrow with the dress. Oh, today's Thursday. Tomorrow at around 3, I think it's up for 3:15, my video drops. So make sure you're subscribed so that you can see it. I'm getting really close to finishing the next one, so hopefully that'll be done for next Friday, but definitely the Friday after. This finger's a lot skinnier. Just grabbing some more warm. Whoop. Okay. Now onto the skin of the hand. The drop shadow, it's very warm because she's resting her hand on the... Whoa! Getting paint on the brush, on the thing. But the shadow on the hand is much more green. Also, there is a legitimate straight up bounce light of the red that Luca painted on here. So I'm going to leave a little sliver that I can add that really brightness in there. And I'm going to paint everything else. I'm kind of just finding the shadow and the highlight shapes. I didn't really draw in any of those when I was transferring it. Just kind of thinking about how all of the fingers have a shadow on this lower portion. That there's 3 sections to the fingers that I have to at least allude to, if not actually paint. And Luca kind of alluded to them more than actually adding them in. Giving the feeling of a hand rather than the perfection of a hand. Okay, I think that's good. And I want to grab the shadow color, or actually this brush is okay. I'm going to add in that, oh, that brush has white on it. I want a new brush. This might be my last small brush. But I'm going to grab the Cad Red and Burnt Umber mix and drop that highlight, that bounce light in so I can blend it together. And then it's right around all of the shadow shapes almost. Just adding this nice soft luminosity to the fingers, which makes them look like more like real fingers, because you know when you put a flashlight under your finger and they glow red, you get that effect on some level pretty much all of the time. And so noticing that and using that, utilizing it in the painting really makes it look a little bit more real, even as it's kind of softer, you know? Getting a little bit out of control though. Okay. Going with that darker color of the skin and mixing a little bit of the yellow, white in. And I'm going to just lay this transition in. And then we're going to soften all of this, everything, and then redefine all the shapes. A little bit of like shadowing in here though. I drew it a little bit too light. That's okay. As I blend all of it together, the highlights will go in the shadows will go in the highlights, and it'll even out any mistakes that I have. Okay, grabbing the soft brush. Just kind of lightly tapping it all, getting paint in all of the nooks and crannies of the canvas. The white paint is a lot stickier, so as I'm going into it, I'm both picking it up and not moving it at all. So it's white paint, man. I don't really like white paint. It's a lot harder to tap in. Okay. I'm also gonna, I don't know if this brush has too much on it. I'm just gonna soften these edges as well, just to make sure that when I go back in and paint the fabric, I'm not gonna hit any high ridges that are gonna look really ugly. So I'm just gonna soften that whole thing. And then I'm gonna go back in with a skin tone color. I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow because it got really gray. Perhaps not. Oh boy, I might have just messed this all up. No, we'll get there, we'll get there. Trust the process. I do want to grab a different brush though. What is a skin tone brush that has yellow in it? This one. All right. Okay, this cord is in my way. All right, there we go. A little bit of highlight down here. Okay, too much of a straight line on this finger. It needs to have more sort of undulating variety as your fingers kind of come in and out, in and out. But the bones in between, the knuckles are wider, the in between of the knuckles are skinnier. Liking that as a start. You know, it looks really weird because it has that really dark outline around it. But it's like almost there, I would say. Which is kind of crazy. And can't be true, so therefore I will work on it a little bit more. Okay. It isn't true. There's quite a bit here. That is the wrong color. I want to move this yellow down just a little. Oop, that was too much paint. Back off. Come down here. Come down here. That little highlights where the fingers transition in, and there would be a knuckle there. Okay, I'm gonna go to the warm shadow color, which is the Cad Red, Burnt Umber, and black. I do believe black is in here. Add a little more definition here. Push the highlight over here. Okay, the finger does a really weird divot right there on Luca's painting. And I'm gonna fill in this entire area because it is kind of just this color. And then I can get the tip of the finger. And this finger really fades into the red. I need a bit more of a dark color to define the edge versus that bounce light. But then make sure it's soft. And adding a little bit in here. It does come down here. This I'm just going to leave super loose because I don't know what I'm going to be doing with this sleeve when I work on it later. And then the divot right there. A little too over-defined. Oopsies. Back down here. It doesn't have a super dark spot, but I'm going to throw in a little bit. Because it has something. And then, alright, so this edge pivots up and then over. Okay. And then I need that green medium color. So it's the yellow, black, ochre. I'll add a little bit of cad red in there to warm it back up so it's not purely green. Yeah. I think it needs a little bit more of the burnt umber. Back there, it needs a little bit of white, I think, as well, as I go and turn the edge around towards the highlight of the hand. And then I want that color, that darker color back. Tap it in, push it over, redefine. This definitely needs to go a little bit darker on this edge. It's getting shadowed. Ah! Whoopsies, that really definitely did not go where I wanted it to go. I'm gonna pull the light. Okay, yeah, this little area that I messed up on my brush stroke is definitely a major problem. I'm tempted to just leave it at this, I think. I think it's a good enough start, I guess. And I think I will figure out the actual coloring of the hand a lot better when I have the rest of the dress done around it. Then again, though, I don't want to have to, like, do an entirely... blah, blah, blah. I don't want to have to do an entire new layer on top of the hand. Because I decided to stop working on it a little too early. So I'm just going to do a little bit more redefinition down here. Most of the hand, though, it just kind of disappears. Her fingers are very skinny. Oop, oop, oop. I'm just putting... it's fine. That's highlight. Oh, it's gone now. I was going to talk about it, and then I just got rid of it. A little bit of darkness right there. I definitely got some white in the shadow, which is going to make it look kind of weird. And I need to define this front edge. I am not going to start working on the dress. I'm not going to start working on the dress. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's for tomorrow. Okay. Okie dokie. Alright. I think that I'm going to be almost done for the day. So tomorrow, I'm just going to keep working on it a little bit more. But tomorrow I am going to, I want a warm color right here for this knuckle. Knuckles are kind of warm. Tomorrow I'm going to work on this painting again. Tomorrow there's a YouTube video dropping. And tomorrow, there's no third thing, it's just that. I'm going to keep working on this painting. Tomorrow I'll do the rest of it, and I want to be done with it after tomorrow. And I'm thinking, I'm playing with the idea that next week I would not stream on Monday. So I'm just doing it during the days of the week, not on the weekend. But on Monday I would prep for the whole week, so I'd decide the paintings. And then on Tuesday and Thursday I'd start new paintings. Wednesday and Friday I would finish up the paintings. Which I suppose, depending on whether or not I do the face first or face second. You know, if you want to stick around for the face parts of the painting, since that's like the most complicated parts. It's not like, oh, just on Tuesdays or just on Wednesdays. Anyway, so we'll see. I haven't decided. I might do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and not Friday, but I don't know. I think it might help if I had a day to prep all the streams and do all the photoshopping for the thumbnails and all of that. So that at least is the plan right now. And it could very possibly change. I'm just kind of looking and fixing some of these little spots. I should probably be looking more on this thumbnail version of the camera. That zoomed out look. Or it's as if it's as if I have walked far away and I'm looking at both. And it's really helpful to see where the shapes are missing. And since their camera is there, I can't see. If I just zoom back, the camera's in the way of this guy. So I'll just using the camera, utilizing technology, putting a little bit of the shadow shape color on the edge to make that appear to turn a bit more. Oopsies. What's with me in that finger that I keep misplacing my paintbrush? Okay, there's the knuckle here. And then there is the... I don't know what to call it, but the chub transition. There's an extra... Or the crease. I guess it's the first crease in the hand. Creates an extra little divot here. That definitely comes up a lot further than that. Alright, and then I want to get white. The light skin tone color. The shadow got a little unruly, pushing it back down. Making a nice transition between the two. Okay, there's two dark spots that need to go a little bit lighter. So grabbing some of this. This needs to stop being so vibrant. Oopsies. And then down here, it just needs to be a bit more paint. That was a little bit thin. It wasn't really actual dark paint on there. It was just the canvas showing through. And then this is way too defined. Just gonna tap the edge, blend it in. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. That's close enough. I'll be able to tell better when I do the dress whether or not it looks good or not. But that is it for today. Thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing, for liking, for doing all the things, chatting especially. Yeah, and I shall see you on tomorrow. I just thought it was Friday again for a second. The days of the week do not matter anymore. But anyway, have a great day, everyone. Goodbye. Bye.